what was kind of weird to the family is he's married. The girl name is Brianna as well.
Nearly 2 months after Briana Winston was last seen, Clayton County police have cracked the case and say she was murdered by her boyfriend, Keilan Edwards, after an argument about cheating. Investigators say Edwards married a woman while with Winston. Detectives say Edwards then put her into a suitcase, drove her to Tennessee, where he and another man burned her body. Clayton County police say during the investigation, Edwards was in jail on another charge unrelated to the murder, but was caught on a jail call asking his wife, Brieanna Phillips-Edwards, to burn a pair of shoes and gloves. Investigators say Edwards' mom, Ebony Anderson, and his brother, Keilan Wright, are also charged for helping destroy evidence.
Brianna, she was a hard worker, outgoing, very sweet, nice, bubbly. She had a beautiful smile. She was very family oriented. And she loved her daughter to death. She wouldn't leave her daughter. Brianna, she was kind of, well, I'm not going to say kind of, she was very secretive when it came down to him because he was abusive. And once we found out he was abusive, you know how family get when. Once we found out he was abusive, she kind of tried to like keep him away from us. Her coworker said that he used to pop up at her job and just sit outside her job and just watch her. Her best friend said that he used to hide in the bushes and stuff. Like when he used to follow her. Like if she go over a friend's house or something, he used to follow her and hide in the bushes just to see who was she in the house with. And he always told her if she wasn't going to be with him, she wasn't going to be with nobody else. She always told us that. He always said if she tried to leave him, he was going to kill her. And this is where we at today. Because she was tired. She was ready to leave him. She was ready to have her. She wasn't happy with him. Every time he came around, she was like quiet and standoffish. And he was very quiet. When he came around, he didn't say much to us. From my understanding, when they moved into the apartments, he turned the lights on illegally, from what I heard. So when the light company found out that he turned the lights on, once the light company found out, they came and turned them off. So the bill was like $3,000 or something. So she was working 2 jobs to try to pay the bill down to get the lights back on. But while her lights was off, she'll come to my house and spend the night. She'll go to her grandmother's house. She'll go to her aunt's house. She would just stand here, there. She'll go to her best friend's house. She would just stand places. And the last time I spoke, Brianna was at my house the beginning of March. No, the middle of March. This is April. She was at my house the middle of March, but her sister just had her baby on the 28th of March, and she was ready for the baby to come. And her sister said when she reached out to her, Brianna wasn't responding or anything, but she went to her best friend's house, and her best friend said that she was over her house on March the 15th, the 16th, one of those days. But she said while she was over the best friend's house, Brianna stated to her that she had ran into Mikhail's girlfriend, but come to find out his wife, mother. And when she ran into the wife mother, it was wording saying that the baby was calling her mom and she's been around the baby since the baby was born. This is all of what I'm hearing. It's just word of mouth. Her sister reached out to me on the 1st of April and said, have you talked to Brianna? I said, no. She was like, well, I've been calling her and texting her. And I'm like, well, that's not Brianna. So I got up, left my house and came over here and went to the leasing office and asked them could they do a wellness check on her. And when they went in the apartment was spotless, clean. They said when they walked in, it smelled like bleach and they stepped in something wet on the carpet. But they said the refrigerator was cleaned out, spotless. The toilet was spotless. Everything was spotless. It was clean. Wasn't nothing in there. They said the apartment was ready for moving, basically, again. When they went in the apartment and said that it was clean, that clicked to me something was wrong. So I went and did a police report, a missing person police report. But while I was doing the police report, they sent the police officer to her apartment and had them to just look in there. And while I was standing at the police precinct, I heard the sergeant say over the speaker, he was like, no, this is not right. We need to come and check this out. So we sat in front of the apartment maybe like 7 hours. We sat in front of the apartment maybe like 9 or 10 that morning until like maybe 7 that night waiting on CSI to come. They told us CSI had to come and take pictures and stuff, but while we was waiting on the CSI to come, we just took it upon ourselves to walk around and ask the neighbors questions and stuff. And the neighbor that lives up under Brianna, she stated that she seen Mikhail like maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, so he had a bag in his hand. And Brianna's uncle asked what kind of bag was it, and she said like a gray bag. So they asked which direction he went in, and they went walking. I was still sitting in front of the apartment waiting on CSI, but her uncle went and walked the trail, and he came upon the bag and it had bleach in it and shoes. And when he called me, he just said, I found something. But once he said he found something, I took off running. But before I took off running, I told the police officer that was sitting out there with us that they found the bag, and he told us not to touch it. So I don't know what else was in the bag. They sent her best friend a picture because she left her best friend's house on the bus on Marta, and they sent her best friend a picture asking was that what Brianna had on walking through the gate. They sent her a picture of her walking through her gate that night. But that's the only picture we have from them. What was kind of weird to the family is he's married. We just found out he was married. The girl name is Brianna as well. My first time seeing her picture was on the internet yesterday. She's a person of interest. The detective reached out to me the beginning of this past week. And I was just asking him, like, was it any updates on the case? And he was like, by the way, did you know that Mikhail was married? I said, married? He said, I guess you didn't know either, but that was like a wow to us, because you're married, but you're still stalking her. You don't want her to be with anybody, and it was just crazy. We was calling him when we found out that she wasn't answering her phone. He wasn't answering his phone. We called the mom, and the mom said she stay out of their business, and that was it. She said she didn't know where Brianna was, and that was that. But from the time they found the bag, they told us we couldn't communicate with them, reach out to them anymore, so we haven't reached out or anything to them. And the detective called me yesterday while I was sitting at the park trying to clear my mind just off of everything, and just told me, they said, well, I was just calling to let you know that before you see anything on the news or on TV or on the internet, I was just calling to let you know we was about to do a press release. And we have a suspect, person of interest. It's Mikhail. They said it was Mikhail, but when I looked on the internet, it was Mikhail and his wife. We don't know the charge. When, like family, all of us, we've been looking on the internet and stuff. When they looked on the internet, it said aggravated stalking. We don't know where that came from, but from my understanding, it was a PTO. He didn't supposed to be around Brianna. because they got into it October of last year. In the court, the judge said he didn't feel that it was safe for Mikhail to be around Brianna. So I don't know if that stalking charge is from that or where it's from. So I don't know. She have a daughter, Naira. She's with the dad. She's with Mikhail's mother at this time. But they told us not to reach out to them. So, but every time I ask the detective how she's doing, they always say she's okay. Her grandmother said that Mikhail's mother called her Thursday, one of those days, and said that she was asking for her mom and for her grandmother. But she said she was at work and she was going to have to call when she got off of work, call back, but she never did call back. Thank you for reaching out.
There's a stairs on the side of here.
I'm Major Frank Thomas, the commander of the Criminal Investigations Division for the Clayton County Police Department. The Criminal Investigations Division was made aware of a missing person case on April the 2nd, 2024. It was very suspicious. The Major Felony Unit Commander and her staff immediately began working the case. The case was ultimately concluded as a homicide. To solve this case, they used over 1,100 man-hours, executed 26 search warrants, digital media forensics, search and rescue canines, bank records, social media sites, and good old-fashioned police work. I want to thank the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation for the continued support and endless hours assisting my detectives in Tennessee last week. I'd also like to thank the Clayton County Sheriff's Office for quickly arresting all offenders in this case who were not already incarcerated. I'll now turn it over to Lieutenant Marbury, the Major Felony Unit Commander.
I'm Lieutenant Marbury, Major Felony Unit Commander at CID. So on April 1st, Briana Winston was reported by her family as a missing person after they had not seen or heard from her since about March the 16th. On April 2nd, we assumed the investigation. It was myself, Sergeant Bice, Sergeant Teskey, Detective Bryson, Detective Moore, and Detective Wright. We tirelessly worked to figure out exactly what happened to Brianna. So after employing several investigative measures and obtaining more than 20 search warrants, the investigation led us to Tennessee, where we found answers that left us some happiness but a lot of sorrow for Brianna. On Monday, May 6th, we traveled to Tennessee and we were received by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, who had on our behalf enlisted the assistance of other agencies such as the TWRA, which is the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, and also first responders within the Madison and Lauderdale counties. On May 7th, we started our search along a stretch of I-40. We were looking for the remains of Brianna. We eventually traveled to Gates, Tennessee, where we were met with a man who we believed would be able to tell us the full story on what we had been piecing together for approximately a month. After reaching a dead end in pleading and basically negotiating with him for the truth, as a last resort, we introduced the offer of a proffer. through which he provided us with the intricate details that not even we were expecting to hear. So we sat down with the Lauderdale County ADA, Ms. Julie Pillow, and in that room, the man confirmed that on March the 17th, Keilan Edwards arrived at his home, and he took a suitcase out of the trunk, which contained Briana Winston's body. Together, the two men placed the suitcase inside of a burn barrel located behind the home. They doused it with accelerant, lit a fire, and they kept that fire burning from the early afternoon until nightfall, burning Brianna's body until she was just skeletal remains. The man told us that both he and Edwards used a shovel to break down Brianna's bones in an attempt to speed up the burning process. And then once nightfall hit, Edwards took a portion of Brianna's remains, which he was to dispose on the side of the highway. The man also told us what was left within the burn barrel, he took and transported to a church in Ripley, Tennessee. He took that barrel behind the church and dumped the remains in a cemetery in the wooded area. When we asked how it was that Brianna was killed, the man was able to tell us that Edwards did go to Brianna's apartment during the early morning hours of March 17th, and in an argument where she had confronted him after learning about his infidelity to her, he choked her. Assisted by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, as previously mentioned, we recovered Brianna's remains at the cemetery, and prior to traveling to Tennessee, we interviewed several people. Brianna Edwards Phillips is one of those people that we interviewed. There was also Ebony Anderson, who is the mother of Keilan Edwards. She was interviewed as well. On April 4th, we interviewed Keilan. On the 5th, we interviewed Brianna. And during that interview, it was found out that she had provided several statements that were verbal and written. They were false. And for that, we did take out an arrest warrant. Also learned in that interview on April 5th, we found out that she had secretly married Keilan on January 5th of 2024, and nobody was aware that the two were married. So Keilan, on April 8th, we took warrants out on him. That was for aggravated stalking. That was related to a previous case where he was in violation of a stay-away order from October 2023. It was October 13th, 2023. It was a domestic violence arrest that stemmed from an incident that occurred between him and Brianna. And while reviewing jail calls, we heard Keilan tell Brianna Edwards Phillips to burn a pair of shoes and a pair of gloves. He also told her that his brother Keilan Wright would assist her with the burning of these items. Upon returning from Tennessee, we were able to obtain arrest warrants for additional arrest warrants for Keilan. They were for aggravated assault, malice murder, felony murder, tampering with evidence. Warrants were obtained for conspiracy to tamper with evidence related to Ebony Anderson and Keilan Wright, because we found evidence through our search warrants that they had in fact burned the shoes and the gloves that Keilan asked them to burn for them. We placed an additional warrant out for the arrest of Brianna Edwards Phillips after we found evidence that suggested that she had provided Keilan with a ride to Tennessee, and she also was very well aware of his whereabouts on March 17th while he was there burning Brianna's remains. Are there any questions?
Did Brianna Phillips-Edwards, did she go with him? You said provided a ride. Did she go with him?
No, she did not travel to Tennessee with him.
Just provided a
She provided her vehicle as a mode of transportation. Keilan did not have a vehicle.
And the mother, what was her role in this?
The mother, we have evidence that suggests that she took a part in burning the items that Keilan called and asked to be burned from jail on April 8th.
I gotta ask you, Because it sounds like a family affair involved in.
Well, it turned into a family affair. He definitely looped everyone in to this crime.
What was the proffer for the gentleman, the person in Tennessee?
What
The proffer.
it is what a proffer is. The proffer is that he would provide information to the district attorney's office in exchange for immunity from being charged.
So he has immunity.
He does.
These are very gruesome allegations for what happened. I mean, is that the reason why the malice murder charge, it was malice as opposed to something else?
It was malice murder because it took some forethought. It was not a crime that was committed in the heat of passion. There was malice. There was some intent there. The option was to walk away. You have the option to walk away from arguments.
How crucial was that jail call to this investigation, getting everybody involved behind bars and charges?
All the evidence in this case is exceptionally crucial. I don't think one piece outweighs the other. It all fits together to tie the puzzle pieces.
How much information do you think Brianna Phillips knew? Like, did she know the choking happened when it happened? Did she know how early did she know about all this?
It is very hard to tell how much information she had. Everything that we have spoken to her about has led us to believe that it was a substantial amount of untruthfulness. Do y'all wish to say anything? No. Family does not want to speak.
In closing, I do want to say that we are surrounded with family members here, only because without them, we wouldn't have gotten where we were in some of the parts of this investigation. They filled in those gaps for somebody who wasn't around, showing what their day-to-day routine was, and we were able to already show the day-to-day routine had stopped. So they were very crucial in it, and we've been with them the whole time. And we really appreciate their support and being able to close this case for them. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hardworking. She worked so much. She was very independent. She had a vision of what she wanted her life to be. And she just kept pushing. We need to ask questions and be persistent and find out ways to help people that are in a difficult situation. I've met Mikhail. He's been to my home. I've given him a... He was quiet. He seemed to be caring.
I was enraged. I didn't understand. A lot of unanswered questions. Why? And I feel like that, just him going to jail is just not enough for me.
The memories that we made, the time that we spent.